remember the stuff presented by this creepy bear is from the Evolution 101 website, written by the Understanding Evolution team. Commentary by Rent-A-Friend 2000, that's me!
Genetic drift, along with natural selection, mutation, and migration, is one of the basic mechanisms of evolution. In each generation, some individuals may, just by chance, leave behind a few more descendants, and genes, of course, than other individuals. The genes of the next generation will be the genes of the lucky individuals, not necessarily the healthier or better individuals. That, in a nutshell, is genetic drift. It happens to all populations. There's no avoiding the vagaries of chance.
According to this paragraph, you've got survival of the fittest, and then survival of the just dumb luckiest. I think if Darwin would have used the phrase survival of the just dumb luckiest, he would have been invited to more parties.
Earlier we used this hypothetical cartoon. Genetic drift affects the genetic makeup of the population but, unlike natural selection, through an entirely random process. So although genetic drift is a mechanism of evolution, it doesn't work to produce adaptations.
Finally, something we can agree on. Sort of. Genetic drift doesn't work to produce adaptations. True. But to then call it a mechanism of evolution seems rather pointless. They're trying to argue that some individuals getting killed and others having offspring through random dumb luck is a mechanism of a process whereby bacteria gain new genetic information until they become wolves and cabbages. Hey, am I the only person who thinks the authors didn't read this? Transporting something around is not the same as creating that something. This is why the law has different definitions for manufacturing and stealing.
Natural selection. Natural selection is one of the basic mechanisms of evolution, along with mutation, migration, and genetic drift. Darwin's grand idea of evolution by natural selection is relatively simple but often misunderstood. To find out how it works, imagine a population of beetles. One, there is variation in traits. For example, some beetles are green and some are brown. 2. There is differential reproduction. Since the environment can support unlimited population growth, not all individuals get to reproduce to their full potential. In this example, green beetles tend to get eaten by birds and survive to reproduce less often than brown beetles do.
Hey, you gotta try one. They're delish.
3. There is heredity. The surviving brown beetles have brown baby beetles because this trait has a genetic basis. 4. End result, the more advantageous trait, brown coloration, which allows the beetle to have more offspring, becomes more common in the population. If this process continues, eventually, all individuals in the population will be brown. If you have variation, differential reproduction, and heredity, you will have evolution by natural selection as an outcome. It is as simple as that.
Now I get it! If I tear out enough pages from my copy of Cookie Monster and the Cookie Tree, it will eventually become War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. It really is as simple as that! And every bit as impossible. Check out their example. We start with green and brown beetles. Eventually, because of birds and just dumb luck, there are no more green beetles. This is a loss of genetic variation. And this is how bacteria become wolves and cabbages? It amazes me what people can overlook when they've already decided on a conclusion. On this logic, I could get rich faster if I burn the money I have instead of just spending it. Now, before I get angry emails accusing me of attacking a straw man, let me explain that I know they aren't claiming that this process creates new genes, features, and species. But then, why are they calling it evolution? Let's see, in Chapter 1, they defined evolution as descent with modification. And then in Chapter 8, they said descent with modification is a change in gene frequency over time. They don't define modification, nor do they qualify change, so all they are saying is evolution is change over time, which they know is wrong because they said this in Part 2a, biological evolution is not simply a matter of change over time. Between Chapters 2 and 8, they spend a lot of time showing off their phylogenetic trees, which are supposedly the history of life on Earth, from bacteria to wolves and cabbages. So it follows that the only reason that they are taking our time on the Evolution 101 page here is to prove that genetic drift and other mechanisms cause the kind of change that result in the history of life as depicted in their little trees. But they don't. So what is the point of all this? It's a little trick called bait and switch. They define evolution weekly as stuff that happens, and then show some stuff happening, and then hope you don't notice that their stuff has nothing to do with evolution. What does genetic drift show? It shows that the previous generations had a greater genetic diversity, which, due to natural selection and just dumb luck, is getting thinner over time. This is the exact opposite of evolution, yet it is exactly what the biblical model would predict. Funny how the evidence from observation points us back to the Bible. However, I think that's more than just dumb luck. And join us next week for more Whee!